Yeah, Brian, Matt here, mate, from Crow FM. How you going?
I'm good, buddy. Good. So I go outside, it's a bit quieter, mate.
Yes,
Can I get a pass out, please? Can I get my money back? I'm not saying. Sorry, mate. I'm just messing with her head. Whereabouts are you, mate?
Mate, believe it or not, I've got a funny story for you. I'll answer your question first. I'm out at Kingaroy.
Oh, that's right,
Yeah, a little bit north. But I've actually met you about 13, 14 years ago. And it wasn't one of the highlights of my life, actually. I wouldn't mind telling you about it, if that's all right.
Well, rude to you.
No, not at all. Quite the opposite, actually. I worked at the PCYC there in Inala. And I've sort of followed...
With Raymond?
What?
Did you work there?
With Kylie.
Oh, geez, well, you go back that far?
Yeah.
Jeez, okay.
So anyway, I'd sort of just kicked off, and I was doing activities officer and whatnot, and Kylie had sort of said, you've got to talk to Brian Kerle, and I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, oh, Brian Kerle works here, and I'd known of you and the Bullets and all the rest of it, and so I sort of worked myself up to go and say g'day. And anyway, you probably don't remember this, but it's something that I've thought about many times afterwards. I started my way through my name, and we'd had what I can only say was one of the worst conversations of my life.
Oh, well, mate, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Hey, mate, do you know a lady up there in Kingaroy? She's tied up with basketball. Her husband and her own the produce thing up there by the name of Wendy.
No,
I just can't think of her last name. She used to be the treasurer for Brisbane Basketball. Yeah, I saw her at the Masters Games in November, and she said, "Oh, Kerle, what I got to do to get you to come up to Kingaroy and do some clinics and that."
Oh, do it.
Okay. Wendy's her name. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay. Nice one. So, mate, look, I appreciate your time. I won't sort of keep you too long. I definitely want to chat about the networking function you've got with Wayne. But I'm also really interested in what you're doing with the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island stuff at the moment. You've had a whole lifetime of basketball in this country, and anyone that's followed basketball in Australia is going to know who you are and what you've done and whatnot. So, we don't.
Grandma's will and grandpa's
Mate, I'm only 37 and I know you quite well, so you're not that old. How did you feel? First of all, I'll just ask about the Bullets a little bit, if that's all right. How did you feel about them coming back into the comp?
Oh, that sort of meant a fair bit to me, and because having a big part of them back in '84 when I arrived back here from Melbourne that first year.
Yeah.
So to see them drop out was sad, and it was disappointing because all that work we put into making a brand name just sort of virtually went down the drain. So that was a big disappointment, yeah. But it's great to see them back now, and I would like to have more involvement in it. But they're going their direction. But it's still good. I went to all the games this year.
When you came up from Melbourne and took the role as the Bullets head coach, they weren't what you'd call a successful franchise, let alone a sporting team. And from what I've read, you had a big part in the business side of it. Would that be a fair thing to say?
Oh yeah, it is. I came up here the end of '83 actually, and I was running the stadium. I was doing the marketing, promotions, and the media, as well as coaching the team. So, and we were playing at Auchenflower then, and because the year before in '83 they were probably getting 200 people to a game, 150 on a Sunday afternoon, paying $2 a head. So and then I had these big visions, big dreams that what I wanted to do with the program, and and I got good people around me to help me to achieve that.
What was the biggest success there? Like, was there one or two things that you could pinpoint? This is why it succeeded.
The biggest, like I said, one of the things I really did, and I did well, and I don't mind giving myself a rap here, but it's got some really good professional people around me. And they supported me, and I sold them the vision that I had, and they all came on board. And getting Leroy here, of course, was the big clincher, of course, and that was a deal that I just did over the phone with Leroy. He didn't even shake hands or anything. We just said, "Okay, it's a deal, Leroy. I'll see you when you're ready to come up here." So
simple as that.
It was,
wow.
because and we always had a good trust and a good bond, and it wasn't until like 3 or 4 years later when the league brought in that players had that contract, that he actually had a contract with it. We just sat down and negotiated under the table every year in what we could afford to pay him. So that was one thing. But then building up the corporate side of it was a really, really big thing. And I think the first year our budget was something like $60,000, and we got in probably 20,000 in sponsorship, and half of that was contra. So. But from there, we raised money in other ways as well. So, but it grew and it grew, and I just had to go out and sell it to the media. I'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and visit all the radio stations twice a week, go around and knock on the door. I didn't tell them I was coming. I just announced and said, "Hey, this is what I'm Brian Kerle. This is what I want to do, and I need your support." So, and I never got knocked back from anybody, and that was great. It was a great challenge for me, and it was fun times for me. And then we gradually built up that corporate sponsorship, which in the end in '87, for instance. So within 2 years, we got just under $200,000 major sponsorship from Forex, and which was fantastic. So it went from $20,000 to $200,000 within 2 years.
Brian, was that the point, or was there another point where you thought to yourself, "All right, we're on the right track"?
Well, yeah, and like I said, I was working with an amateur body and working for an amateur body, made up of a committee. Now, Ron McAuliffe, I don't know if you remember Ron McAuliffe, he was the grandfather of rugby league in the early days and ran Queensland Rugby League. And Ron McAuliffe, he spoke at a luncheon for me there once, so we had a business luncheon, which we had 2 or 3 every year. And he rang me up one day and having a go at me in a jovial way about how I'm capturing the audience and causing rugby league a lot of problems, And I said to him, "Well, Ron, because by this time we're in Chandler and gone from 1,000 people to 4,500 seat stadium." And I said to him, Jacob, "Ron, I wanted to talk to you because I want to hire Suncorp by Lang Park off you." And I said, "I'll put a court in the middle and I'll fill that." And he said, "Yeah, you probably will, you so-and-so." But I had a lot of respect for the man, and I liked his philosophy, and he thought a committee of 3 was ideal, that you'd call a meeting, you'd have one of them that gets sick, and you just didn't tell the other guy the meeting was on, so you got things through. But, I was lucky that I got a lot of things through, otherwise Leroy probably wouldn't have been signed and things like that. But, that were the really, there's a lot of stories like that got us going, and but then we captured, after that first year in '84, losing the grand final by 1 point to Canberra, that sort of set us, because we came back to the airport, and I think there was about 9 or 10 people that agreed us. So, from there on.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I just want to go back a step. You're just talking about, sort of being challenged by rugby league or sort of stepping on their toes a little bit. At that stage, the Broncos weren't around yet, were they?
No, the Broncos weren't around. You had Sheffield Shield Cricket, and they were drawing in about 30 people to a game. You had Queensland Rugby play New South Wales Rugby, I think, twice a year or 3 times a year. You never had the Roar, you never had the Firebirds, things like that.
Yeah.
So I think one thing that I really did, and what we really did, was we shook up all the other sports. That they said, "Well, hey, hang on, if we want this marketplace or share this marketplace, we're going to have to get our act together." And then you saw like the Broncos taking over and these other teams. So there was a big change there in their whole outlook on what they had to do. Got more professional and things like that. And then the Bronx came in, and then beds came. Then you've got, of course, 2020 cricket and all that. And you got the Firebirds who are very successful. And and the Roar and all that. So Queensland's a great, Brisbane's a great sporting city now when you come to think of it. And it's great. That's why it's great to have the Bullets back there at the moment.
100%, and a big pat on the back for you, mate. Like, who knows where we'd be if the Bullets weren't doing what they were doing back in the 80s.
Well, the other thing is that when I took the job on, I signed up. The association never told me they were $30,000 in the red, so I had to find my own $28,000 salary, which I got in those days, plus the $30,000, so it was $58,000. So I had to make it work.
Wow!
I had to make it work. So not many people know that. I went for 2 months, never got paid because the association couldn't pay Queensland Basketball. They got a grant from the government towards my wages. So I went. But I used to referee and clean the stadium when the cleaner didn't turn up and things like that. Did all the draws. So but I loved it. And I look back at in these times and I think, geez, and then to coach the team to the first 4 years here to a grand final and winning Kerle.
Yeah, mate, that's unheard of. And I was going to ask, like, I can't even think of a sport or a club or even a coach that would do that these days. Besides sort of grassroots stuff, but not best in the state sort of stuff. No,
you're right. You sort of look at little clubs and things like that with their volunteers and how they do it. And it was hard work, but it was fun work, and nothing was going to stop me. Nothing at all. I was determined. And like I said, Australia-wide, we were the trendsetters, we were the leaders, and a lot of clubs. And the great thing about the league in the early days is that we shared ideas. Like what I didn't want to keep that. I wanted the league to be successful as well. So it's no good the Bullets being number one, and then you only had 7 struggling clubs. So we always used to share ideas and got together. And I think that's why the NBL was so great in the early days, because we had passionate basketball people, which I don't think there's that many there now that are running the clubs.
It's more of a numbers game, do you think?
I think so, The corporates have come in and, the big business people, and it's the bottom line that they're more concerned about these days.
Yeah, got it. Was there a point, you've taken the Bullets to X amount of championships and grand finals, and, you must have, I can only assume, gotten to a point where you thought, I've done what I can in Australian basketball. Did you ever think of going overseas?
No, because I wanted to go to the front office. That's, especially after I got sacked the first time, I thought that was the ideal transition. They were happy with what I was doing, and, in its history now, what happened to them, how they just plummeted from playing at Boondall to the convention centre, and numbers went down. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get more in that front office, I would have loved to do that today, but that's not going to happen at the moment. So, look, those things sort of happen. You've got to take them in your stride, and, it's, like I said, it's all worked out now anyway.
Sure. Now, it was, as you say, they got rid of you. It was 4 seasons later they invited you back again?
Well, they changed owners then, and that was when the Broncos owned them, actually, and Steve Williams was the general manager or CEO of the club, and Steve Williams came and saw me and asked me to come back, and that was in it was the end of '89 sort of thing, the 1990 season. So, they asked me to come back, and, I thought about it. I had a business which was struggling at the time, and so I got out of that and thought, this basketball is what I wanted to do. And to be honest with you, the guy that convinced me, I got a phone call from, the great one, Bennett, and he said to me, Kerle, I want to meet you at the Broncos Leagues Club. I need to have a talk to you. And I said, okay. And he said, Kerle, you got to get out of the shop. He said, your life is coaching, your life's basketball, so get back involved in it. So Wayne was sort of a mentor to me. I had a lot of respect for him, a lot of time for him. And, did you guys have a relationship before that? Yes, Look, I used to go into the rooms, State of Origin, and when Wayne was coaching South, so I used to we actually used to play games against South's rugby league team with Meninga and Wally and all those sort of guys. Not Meninga, no, it wasn't Meninga. It was Wally and Gino, players like
right.
that.
Gene Miles,
We used to play basketball games against them, And
did you ever get tackled by Wally?
Hey?
Did you ever get tackled by Wally on the game of basketball?
No, I don't want to be because his legs are so close to the ground, they're built like trees, so he hit you hard. But, we had a great camaraderie there. But, Wayne invited me into the rooms and I became I was a Wynnum Manly fan, actually, because I lived in Wynnum Manly. But South became a sort of my rugby league team. But go in those rooms at State of Origin, gosh, that was some of the greatest moments of my life in sporting history. And, and he just, like he's always said to me, Kerle, everyone thinks they're going there, and I said, Wayne, I won't do that to you because I know what it was like when I was at the Bullets. So
everyone's your best friend.
No, but then again, we did have a bit, and we used to have lunches as well, or dinners at night once a month, and there'd be Wayne Bennett, Johnny Conley, John Buchanan, holy Mike Young, and a whole heap of people.
Yeah, the coaches.
And, we'd sit around the table and we'd swap ideas. Well, Matthews, the AFL coach, he was there too.
Lee Matthews,
Lee Matthews, it was unbelievable. You would pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars to listen to these guys, but we sat around and paid for our own meal unless we got sponsorship from a restaurant or something like that, which we did. We sort of had a little bit of pull there, but we sat around and exchanged ideas. It wasn't us against Aussie rules or rugby league or cricket and things like that. We're Brisbane, and we had a great fraternity going on where we all supported each other, and I thought that was a really good initiative that we created.
That's fantastic. And you still talk to Wayne, obviously. You've got the event coming up. Do you still talk to, your Lee Matthews and John Conley? I know he's on the Sunshine Coast now.
Yeah, I saw Cons late last year, and I've seen Lee probably 12 months ago, but Johnny Buchanan, I saw him a few weeks ago. Mike Young, he's over in America now, and some of those other guys. Yeah, look, we catch up and things like that. As you know, I'm having a sports luncheon with Wayne Bennett. I haven't spoken to Wayne for 18 months because I don't like to put pressure on people and use people up. But I rang Wayne up. I said, Wayne, I'm trying to raise some money to take a group of Indigenous kids and Australian kids. Indigenous kids are Australian as well, so I'll be careful how I say that. But and other kids. So I said, Wayne, would you be a guest speaker for me? And he said, Kerle, work out some dates, get back to me, and within 24 hours, he locked himself in. He said, I'll do that for you, mate, no problems at all. So whatever people think about Wayne Bennett, they can think, but don't ever come to me and knock the guy because he has never turned me back. And even when I was working for the government, he would come and do the locker room talks and things like that for me here in Brisbane. And he's got a busy schedule, as you know. So that's the sort of guy. People don't know that side of him, and Wayne doesn't go around promoting it. But I'll tell you right here and now, you get one hell of a guy there. And like I said, someone like me, he's always invited me to training, and it's just an open. I just have to tell him I want to go. So, I think he's a fantastic guy, and I appreciate what he's doing for us. Yeah, mate, I couldn't agree more. And I would put yourself in that category as well. That's for sure. Mate, let's talk about the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander program that you've got running. Take me back to, why did you first get involved in such a program? Well, being in Queensland, my father being in a police force, I travelled, we lived all around Queensland. He'd shifted every couple of years, he was moved. And I always had Indigenous and kids in my class, and every school I went to. And some of them were my best friends. And then, I went to Melbourne for those 16, 17 years. But then when I came back and I got sacked that last time from the Bulls, I got sacked 3 times as a coach. There's only 2 times with professional coaches, and those are the ones who've been sacked, and those are the ones who are waiting to be sacked. So, after 3 times, I thought, hang on, Billy, there's a story here.
There's something going on.
For you. There's something going on. So, I got a job with Queensland Sport and Recreation. Terry Macker was the sports minister, and I did a program for him called Thanks Coach, Thanks Ref, which was a huge success all around Queensland, acknowledging all our volunteers, coaches and referees. Yeah. But out of that, I had this idea about going to Indigenous communities and taking different sporting people and named it the Deadly Sports Program, which was a huge success from Torres Strait to Mornington Island and Mount Isa out to Gundawindi, Charlwood, all those sort of places. So I did that, and I did that for something like 10 years, and it was the best 10 years of my life until I retired in 2011. I wanted to keep going, but a few things changed, and I said, no more, I'm not going to do it. And I thought, and I got married a few years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, to a Thai lady. Yeah. And I was living over there, and I got bored, and I had this thing I wanted to set up a basketball academy, which I did, and because of the government regulation now, the federal government pulled the vet fee help. But I've always had this thing I wanted to set up like a junior Indigenous academy, and so I'm doing that. That'll be launched in a few weeks' time. But in the meantime, I had requests. I look after 3 Indigenous schools here in Brisbane. I go and do voluntary coaching there for them to help those kids, mentor them. I go up to Charlwood, Cunnamulla, Roma, Blackwater, all those places.
You should cover some caves, mate.
Well, I do, but you know what? And the people are just fantastic to me. And I was very fortunate. You got this big old white guy, and I go into all these places, and I'm just accepted. But I don't know what it is. Maybe they're scared of me because I'm 6'8" or something like that. But there's some wonderful people there, and there's a lot of Aboriginal kids and Torres Strait Island kids that have got the talent, like Paddy Mills or Nathan J. White, Michael Ahmed or Danny Morsou. Yeah. I want to discover. I was the one that took Danny down to Melbourne. I found Nathan J. White up in Bamaga on that, just from that program. Wow. Paddy Mills did his own thing. Paddy went to Canberra, but and I just want to. I want to find some more great Indigenous players and give them that opportunity. So, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm seeking funding at the moment. I'm seeking sponsorship, things like that, to make it grow. Because I've got a clinic. I do an Indigenous clinic every school holidays, and we get an average of 100 kids to it. We've already got having one on the 8th of July, and it's all free. I put it on free for them to give them a basketball t-shirt and lunch. Wow. We've got 120 kids, and it's 3 weeks away before it's on. Already that have signed up to want to come to it. So, it gives me, I collect second-hand shoes for them and clothes and things like that. Just to help these kids out, because I've seen my kids, how well off they are, and I see other kids that wear $300 shoes, and after 2 months they want to buy a new pair because there's a few marks on them. Yeah, these kids are running around barefoot playing, I just want to give them opportunities. That's what it's all about.
Brian, another guy I interviewed about a month ago now, he has a foundation called Footies for All, and I don't know if you've heard of Michael, but he gets footies, basketball, soccer balls, netballs out to the type of communities that you've been dealing with, and he could probably help out there with basketballs and whatnot. So it
maybe you could shoot his contact.
Yeah, 100%.
I'd love to get in contact with him.
Yeah, most definitely. And he's a wonderful bloke. He'd love to help out. So that's good.
Yeah, I've got some great Indigenous athletes. So I got on my coaching staff now for my thing. I've got 2 Indigenous coaches, and I've got 2 guys, and I've got 1 girl, and that come out and help me with all the coaching at these clinics. So I want to, and I've mentored 1 coach from Caboolture, and he's really going on. He's coaching SBL at the moment, Jason Owens, and he's the face of my Indigenous program, and him and his son. So, I just want to be able to do it for them, and skill these people up so that they can take over and follow on from what I'm doing. And I think that's the way it's got. I want a sustainable program over 5 years to really go back to all these places.
That's great, mate. What's the next 5 years look like for Brian Kerle?
Well, I feel good. I feel healthy at the moment. I've got a knee problem, but then again, I've had that for years and years. It slowed me down playing in the Masters, which I'm a little bit dirty on. I should be going to Tuscany in Italy next month, but I can't go because I've got no cartilage or meniscus in my left knee.
You can't coach him? You can't be an assistant coach or something?
No, I can't sit on the bench and watch those old blokes run up down the court, mate. I especially when I'm quicker than it would.
I was going to say, you'd be all over.
Yeah, mate. But look, I want to, like I said, this junior youth Indigenous basketball academy. That I want to get that up and running and produce some kids. You know, we helped a young lad last year that tried to commit suicide, and he's only 13 or 14. And, you know, I want to reach out to those kids and tell them there are people out there that care for you. You know, don't forget to reach out. So I want to get that message out to them. It's a big problem with ice in a lot of the communities these days. I want to try and address that. And sport's one way that we can do it.
Exactly.
You know, the kids will love playing sport, and then we can tag that other things onto it. So we've got a good program put together, and, you know, we're very confident in it, and I'm very confident in it. And I know the people that I can bring in around me. I also scout for Indigenous kids to go to private schools, get them into there. I've got a couple into full scholarships, and I'm working with the university at the moment where we're encouraging kids to follow that university path. So, you know, there's pathways that we're finding for these young people as well.
Mate, that's so impressive, and I need to ask. It's almost it's just this whole sort of career of giving, and you know, you've been to the heights of, you know, this country's basketball arena, but still you want to help out the grassroots, and you always have. What's the drive for that?
Well, you know, like, I think I've been blessed, you know, with basketball, and I started till I was 20 years of old, nearly 21, and seeing the world, going to 2 Olympics and 3 World Championships, and I've travelled all over the world. And it's been a great life for me, and I've been blessed to be able to meet some fantastic people. You know, I've dined with prime ministers and premiers and all that. You know,
and the Lord Mayor last night.
And the Lord Mayor last night, and councillors. But you know what? They're no different than everyday people, and I don't treat the Storm to any different than the CEO of a company. To me, we're all human beings. That is how I look at the world. And the sooner we all realize, I'm no better than anybody else. I will give the time for anybody. I get dejected and very annoyed when I see top sports people won't sign autographs or brush people aside, and they think they're too good. They don't realise that one day they're going to be on the slide.
In 10 years' time,
In 10 years' time. So, look, that keeps me going. And look, just on the sideline, I've got a couple of friends of mine who I've worked with through a cancer charity who look after homeless men and women. And I'm out there collecting shoes and warm clothing for them at the moment. And I've got people, because of my name, I'm using my name to help other people. And the gifts and the people are giving me, like blankets and beanies and things like that, it's been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So if I can help those people, like I'm snuggled up in bed with a big doona, I mean, I've got a heater in the room, and the other night down here it's raining and it's down to 2 degrees. How would you like to be sleeping under the bridge under those conditions?
Exactly.
You know, along the river. So that's what keeps me motivated. As long as I can help people and give back, then it's fine. I'm not doing it for an ego. I've never been on an ego trip. And any coach that's on an ego trip, he shouldn't be coaching. So that's one thing I've been taught. And like I said, as long as I can help people, then I'll be happy, and I'll keep going the way I am.
Love it, mate.
52 years this year I've been in basketball, and I've never been so fired up about it.
I know. I can hear it through the phone. Hey, if some listeners want to hear from yourself, want to hear from Pat Welsh, want to hear from the great Wayne Bennett, how do they get along to the networking event?
Well, it's at Ridges Hotel in the Valley on the 26th of June, and it's $85. And, you know, we got Ceramic Wines are providing the wines. And Ridges have been fantastic. They're Matthew Hurley, the manager. He supported me before Christmas when I brought a young Indigenous boy down from Blackwater and put him and his mum up for a week for me. You know, and I had other people donate money for his airfare. So, you know, that's great. But they'll be along there, and look, anybody's welcome. There's a lot of ladies are coming. I've got counsellors coming, and there's a lot of other top sports people coming. And, you know, it'll be great to get up and personal with Wayne and just find out what really the guy is all about. And instead of, you know, you should never judge people across the road, walking across the road, and you should never listen to other people, what they think of anybody. You find out for yourself, you talk to them, and you find out what type of person they are.
Exactly. There's nothing worse than second-hand gossip, is there?
Oh, no, No, that's what it's the trouble. It's ruining the world.
Exactly. And the Brian Kerle Basketball Academy. How could a young boy or girl get involved in that?
Well, with the Indigenous one, they've just got to have a look at my website, which is www.briankerlebasketball.com, and you'll see all the programs that we do. We've got a Samoan trip. I'm taking a group over there in the 2 weeks in last 2 weeks of September, which is a great initiative, and we're helping out Samoa. They're a very poor country. I'm going over there. We're going to do clinics. We're going to play games. We're going to do cultural stuff in the school. So, we've got a lot of programs, and I don't know, people say there's 7 days a week. I'm up at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning coaching 4 young kids that want to improve their game, and same thing on Sunday. So, I'm not slowing down, put it that way.
That's for sure.
I'm just dirty that whoever created the calendar, there should have been about 8 days or something like that, 9 days in the week. So, but, we make do with what we've got, and like I said, I need this operation on my knee, but I can't find a specialist that'll do it at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's
so
right.
as soon as I do, then I'll get it done. But yeah, because I don't want to let these people down that I've promised to do all this work for.
Love it, mate. Before I let you go, I do have one last question, and it's if there's any young kids out there, maybe grade 1, 2, or 3 at school that picked up the basketball, they got a little bit of skill. What would you say to the young kids out there that are just starting to play basketball?
Have fun, enjoy it, and the parents, I'd say the same thing. Then let your young kids have fun. Let them try as many sports as they can in those early development years, but just don't force them. Make all the drills and everything fun type drills. Like we work with kids from 6-year-old to 17-year-old, and we want those young kids to enjoy it, so they want to come back next week to train or next on the weekend to play. That's the important thing. Keep it simple for them. Don't make it difficult, and don't force them into doing things they don't want to do. Like it should be a fun time for them. And then those who want to be serious, they will know who they are, and then they will move on. The cream will always come to the top. And those young kids, we need those young kids. We need the parents supporting them. But just the parents need to remember too, some too many parents live their lives through the eyes of their kids in their sporting field. So, and we need the parents to take the training, take them to the games as well.
Kerle, great chat, mate. I'm actually proud of myself for getting through it without stuttering like I did 14 years ago.
That's all right, mate. Don't worry about it.
Good on you, mate.
No, please, anytime ring me up, mate. If you hear of Wendy, just see if you can find out about it. But she knows the basketball scene there. And her and her husband, I'm not sure if they still got the produce age. She was an accountant, but her and her husband still live there.
Okay.
And she's
Well, I'm
like I said, I'm willing to come out there anytime they want me to. They get some fun stuff.
Yeah, well, I'll hold you to that. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. All right.
Good on you, Kerle. Catch up soon.
Take care,
Thanks,
mate.
buddy. Bye.